great. It's great.
Are we in?
Hello.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, you are in. Great.
Oh my
Perfect.
God.
It,
This
yeah,
is
we
this
did
is
it.
interesting.
Yes, we did it. We did
Oh
it.
my
It's
God.
great.
Thank you
It's
so much.
great. Actually, it's not difficult, but yeah, this things can happen. Another problem, but it's really great to see you, Mr. Anderson. Uh, and it's great. It's
Malabar,
great.
Malabar, Malabar, Malabar. Yeah.
Merhaba. Yeah, I know, and you know some Turkish. It's really good. Merhaba, merhaba.
Teşekkür
Uh,
ederim. That was it. Yeah.
yeah, teşekkür ederim. Thank you. It's really great to hear this from you. Okay, and it's if it's okay, Mr. Anderson, we can start our live broadcasting, and I'm sure that you have lots of things to tell us, and I'm also really excited to listen you because you have lots of experiences and ideas to share with us. And we start?
Let's go. Let's go for it.
Okay, so Mr. Anderson, uh, can you tell us about yourself a little bit? To
Yeah, of course. You know, for me, school education was a complete disaster. I remember at the age of 5, my mother taking me to school for the first day, and I grabbed hold of the railings. I said, I don't want to go in that room. I don't want to go in that building. And I was dragged
yeah,
in. And the 12 years was a complete disaster. You know, I was bullied, I was insecure, but the information was just moving, and I was never catching it. And most importantly, I didn't have a purpose, like most children. You know, I just was told to go to school, told to learn. I didn't understand. If I put my hand up and the teacher came to help me, I said yes when I said I don't understand. When I said I understand when I really didn't, because I was too embarrassed by the people around me, and I didn't interact. And so when I was 16, they said to me, Roy, you're not clever enough to do mathematics. For your final examination, you must do arithmetic. So at 17, I took
oh
these exams, you know, and I failed every one. I failed English, I failed arithmetic, history, geography. Oh,
wow,
zero, 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 just a line of zeros.
wow,
And then, you know, I always wanted to be a doctor for children, but of course that went out the window. And I got a job in a factory. And I would walk 5 miles every day to this factory and back again. And I remember one day I saw a tree, and there was a leaf. It fell from the tree, you know, and it came out of the tree and
yeah,
it landed on the ground. And when the leaf left the tree, it changed the pattern of the leaves. And when it landed on the ground, it changed the pattern on the leaves on the ground. And I just
yes,
wondered then if there was some way I could change my intelligence and become clever. So I tried to remember things. I would walk past and I've just seen 2 trees and they were like that, you know. And I know that around the corner there's a house, and the house kind of looks like this. And I was developing a kind of an awareness of what
yeah,
actually became very important in my studies. It is the sensitivity by which we analyze information. I'll come
mm-hmm.
along to that later on. And anyway, then I hitchhiked around Europe. I didn't get as far as Turkey then, unfortunately. I kind of ran out of money. And then I went back. I joined the army. And in the army, I had an experience that if I really had to do something, I could. And then I decided that I really didn't want to be a soldier. I wanted to explore the world. I wanted to travel and meet different people in different
Oh,
countries and different cultures. I wanted to understand human beings on the planet. And the only way I could do that was to get a job on a ship. But to get a job on a ship, I needed a qualification. So
I see.
I went to college, a Marine college, and I managed to get in. And then
Mm-hmm.
it was very important for me because 2 things happened. The experiences that I'd had in the army taught me to fight for what I wanted. So I made sure I always got into the front seat, right close to the teacher. And when the teacher was talking, if I didn't understand, I would say, excuse me, sir, I don't understand. And I would not let him go until he explained
Uh-huh.
to me what I needed to know. And what I came to realize, I came to call this a transference of information. You know, for
I see.
example, when we are learning, we're actually trying to get inside the mind of another person. So, for example, if I say the word chair, well, I have an image in my mind of what a chair is, and you have an image in your mind. But the only way we can
Yes.
come to some common agreement is by dialogue, is by talking. And this is what's missing in education. This ability of the teacher to be able to talk with every student so that each student can have their interpretation of what the teacher means. And if they
I
don't
see.
have that, they get a partial understanding. And, and upon that partial understanding, they are evaluated. So this was very important for me. I made sure I understood the information. But secondly, was that I had a purpose. And I would decorate my flat with pictures of ships, and I'd watch these, anything to do with ships, sailing the sea,
Yeah.
anything, pirate ships, anything, whatever it was, And
Yeah. It's
that
great.
kept going. I wouldn't be thinking about the exam. I'd be thinking about some future of being on a ship. And what I realized is that this is missing in a lot of very many students, even at university. They don't have this
Yes.
drive to finish the course because they're only doing it for the course. They're not doing it for some purpose in life.
Mm-hmm.
So what I say to the children in my school now, the elder children, is to think of what you want to do. Don't think of a job. It's too difficult for them. They don't have that experience. But think of something you'd be happy living the rest of your life with. Do you
I
want to
see. Mm-hmm.
do you want to be an artist? Do you want to design clothes? Do you want to be an engine driver? Do you want to be computers or a painter or an astronaut? Whatever it is you think is fun for you, let me help you find a job in that area. And
I see.
so, then we make a big chart where they are now, and they've got this job, and they identify
Yes.
with the meaning of that job, how much money they'll earn, and what they can buy with that job. It's the incentive. And then we plot a path. So I'm here, I need these grades to go to this place, to get this work experience, to get this, to get my job. And that is very important to help our students have this desire, even at the youngest age. I mean, it doesn't matter. We can always change it. And
Yes.
of course, a parent should never say, I want you to be a doctor. I want you to be this. No. It has to be something from inside the individual that the parents and the teachers help to grow. And so I did say, I got in fact, I was the top student in the first year. And after I left, after 3 years of education, I had some of the very highest marks possible. 99%,
Wow.
92% in applied mathematics pre-university. And it was also a big problem to me. How could I get 92% in applied mathematics at pre-university when I was 24 and completely failed at arithmetic when I was 17? So, what was wrong with me or what was wrong with the school system? So in my 30s, I decided that I wanted to help all children. I never wanted a child to leave school and fail as I'd done. And a friend of mine, my daughter, she had a friend who wanted to work with horses in Denmark. And to do this, you needed a certain grade. Now, because she had a terrible teacher, she failed the grade. And she
I
failed her
see.
life. And I felt so sad for that child and realized this is what happens in education. We're just
Yeah.
processing kids. So what is education? How does it work? Well, then I spent 10 years of my life in complete debt. I mean, I didn't work. I did, dangerous odd jobs to get the money. But I just devoted 10 years of my life to understand the whole political social mechanism by which society
Mm-hmm.
uses school to create the next citizen worker. Now, we have to understand that school has got nothing at all about teaching children how to learn. It processes kids on 3 factors. Their language ability, we'll come to that in a moment, which of course is a socio-political avenue. The
Mm-hmm.
drive that they've got to want to succeed in education, which again is a socio-political factor, the parents encouraging the child, And then, of course, the problems the ability of the child to resist the distractions that play in their mind. Bullying,
Mm-hmm.
boredom, insecurity, problems at home. All these things are pulling the mind away. So the ability of the child to exclude those and focus on the learning is what really
I
counts.
see. Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote all these books. Now, these books, now remember I told you that at 17 I completely got zeros.
Yeah.
And these books are said by professors all around the world to be some of the best books about school, society, and learning. My first one is called The Illusion of Education. Now, this
Oh,
explains, as I've just mentioned, why we do not teach children how to think in school. Schools all around the world work on a 19th century political design today to create either the manager or the managed.
I
Society
see.
never wanted the general managed society to think too much. We raise kids in school what we call a dualistic thinking, yes and no, that's it. What is this? What should I do? It makes them dependent. They're raised on a sense of accepting the information rather than questioning it. This is the plan.
Yeah,
So it's only those who
I
go to
see.
university are taught the higher evaluated reasoning skills for the responsibility they'll have in society and work. Those who don't go to university are deprived of this higher reasoning skill. But the problem, so what happened was that I began this because I wanted to help all children to understand their lessons and get good marks. But
I
once I
see.
became involved in the mechanism by which school worked, so I realized that we are not preparing the child of today for the heavily dominated, if not controlled, artificial world that will redesign our social standards, or who can do what work. So then I kind of made this kind of a purpose of my life to meet as many people as I can to explain why school is wrong and what we can do about it. Now, that led me to
Excellent.
the second point. You see, if you have a teacher, they'll ask the same question. One kid will, oh, I know the answer, I know the answer. And another kid will say, I don't know, I don't understand. And the teacher will say, well, it's not my fault. I teach the same information. Therefore, there's one smart kid and one stupid kid. It's life, you know. We are born with different abilities. Now, because of
Yes,
my own
exactly.
experiences, I didn't believe that. So I studied genetics. And I went way
Oh,
into how the whole political idea happened. And I discovered this book is the first book which proves why intelligence is not genetically inherited. And I went back
I
200
see.
years to find lies, fraud, deceit, disinformation by senior psychologists to convince civilization that intelligence is inherited for political purposes. Just for example, there's something called, there was a book called the IQ, the Bell Curve, published in 1994. And it
I
explained
see.
that white people in America are 15 points higher in intelligence than black people. It's completely rubbish. But the information that they use, they distorted information to present this image because they get political funding. And so I discovered that, first of all, intelligence is not inherited. Secondly,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot measure human intelligence. All these ideas of
Yeah.
psychometric tests and IQ testing are based on actually social factors. And the other
Yes.
thing, of course, is that we do not have intelligence. Um, the idea that we have
Hmm.
intelligence comes from a man in 1904 called Charles Spearman, who said that one day, as our technology advances, we will discover a part of the brain that has intelligence. Well, we never did. So there's no part of the brain that has intelligence. What we have is a nervous system that is able to relate to information in the outside world according
I
to our
see.
emotional sensitivity. Now, I'll come back to that in a moment. So then I discovered, well, if we don't inherit intelligence, where does intelligence come from? So I studied neurology and I wrote this book, The Brain Environment Complex, as a new idea to what
Oh,
intelligence is.
wow.
And then basically it all comes down to love. That's all it is, love.
Yeah.
Empathy, compassion, sincerity, security, respect, all these factors enable the child, the student, and the adult in education, whatever, to feel a sense of calmness, a sense of orientation. So I wrote this book called Mediation, which is explaining
Wow.
being sensitive about information. And really, we do need a totally new educational system, so we're preparing a new world education.
Oh,
Many of the
so
subjects we have in school today are out of date. We need new subjects for a new age. And then I wrote Memoirs of a Happy Teacher, which some people say is a Bible for teachers.
wow.
It's experience of helping kids, helping teachers,
Yeah,
and explaining to them.
exactly.
And then 5 ways for better grades. And so,
Wow.
so what I explain to people, and to children in school that school has got nothing at all to do with intelligence. Any normally born child can get
You
very,
are
very
right.
high grades in school if they learn the game. Now, the game is to understand that school works on two languages, mathematics or Turkish, English, French, German, whatever it is. And these languages work on rules. And you understand, you learn one rule and another rule and another rule and another rule. Now, to learn these rules, there's three factors. One is the home background, the way the parents raise the child at home, before school and during the school process, to have a sense of confidence with themselves, a belief in themselves, a sense of adventure orientation, and learning a mental stamina. Now, Risley and Hart in 1995, they did a study and they found out that parents who'd been to university or had an academic background, they spent far more time reading stories, teaching the children how to read, how to color, how to read, and how to write, teaching them simple mathematics, and explaining interaction with them. What is this? Let me show you this, that, pull it apart, and whatever. Now, at the age of 3 years old, 4 years old, those children had 30 million words more in their vocabulary than the child from the average parent. But what we're
Oh,
really talking about here is the mental stamina. You see, kids outside school, they live in a three-dimensional world. Run, laughter, play, cry, whatever. When they go to
I
school,
see.
it's two-dimensional. And this ability to relate to this two-dimensional information is dependent upon the sensitivity of the child to begin. You know, you go to a kindergarten class, and it's very easy to see the child who's calm and listening and ready to, and the other child is running around, jumping up and down and playing. And
Yes.
the sad part is, while he's jumping up and down, will miss. He misses out in the beginning, and he very seldom catches up right throughout the
You
educational process.
exactly.
Now, the other part is the learning environment, the classroom. And the classroom is a very competitive environment, even for adults, and more so for kids, of course, because each student wants to be recognized by the teacher, kind of friendly with the
Exactly.
teachers, so they get better marks. And some children use Machiavellian schemes to discredit other children or other students, pull them down. And, you know, so they laugh at them, they intimidate them, they bully them. And this causes a change in the neural chemistry. We'll come to that. Please remind me, it's a very important point. And then thirdly is the teacher. You know, teachers are human beings. We have fantastic teachers, average teachers, and some teachers who should not be in the job for the responsibility they've got. Teaching is not teaching a kid to understand mathematics. It is to prepare a human being for the life experiences after school.
Yes.
And anyway, so you see, if you have a child who is able to have good qualities of those three factors, you know, good parents, friends in the classroom, given confidence, and a teacher who knows how to make the lesson interesting and inspire them to want to learn, then that kid can get top marks, no problem. But the reality
Definitely.
is that different reasons, 95, 99% of kids, they don't have those three qualities. So when the
Yeah.
teacher's explaining a rule, they miss the rule, they don't understand it, and they get lost. Let me show you exactly what I mean by that. Now, I can't computer screen share, but I can open up a document, and I can show you what I mean by that on a screen, because it's really important to understand that.
Sure. Sure you can.
So, okay, so you can see this equation, 6 divided by 2, 2 plus 1. Now, it's a very simple equation. Can you see that?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
sure. I see that.
Okay, now we're going to look at two students. Okay, now this student, he wasn't listening when the teacher was explaining the rule. He was thinking about somebody not liking him, or he was thinking about a girl that he likes, or he was thinking about a computer game he wants to play. His mind had drifted. So he
I
missed
see.
the rule. So when the teacher says, okay, what is the answer? Well, he'll say, well, look, it's very easy. I'll use logic. 2 plus 1 is 3, and
Uh-huh.
3 times 2 is 6. So 6 divided by 6 is 1. It's logic, but it's totally
Yeah.
wrong. Now, the child who learned the rule, in English we say BODMAS, you know, brackets, division, maths, arithmetic, sorry, multiplication, arithmetic,
Uh-huh.
subtraction, from the left. So he says, okay, BODMAS, do the brackets first, which is 3, do the division, which is 6 divided 2 is 3, And then the multiplication, 3 times 3 is 9. This is nothing to do with intelligence. This is not intelligence. This is just understanding the rules. And so if the
Yes.
child in school learns the rules of mathematics, they know how to think. So when they're given a learning task, they can negotiate through it. Oh, this is great fun. I know what to do. I'm thinking this is fun for me. Then they're inspired and
Yes.
then they're creative. You know, we spend so much money in the West on big signs saying, this is a creative school. We have creative implements for children to learn. That doesn't make any difference at all. Creativity comes from inside you when you know you're good at something and something is fun. So creativity
Exactly.
has got nothing to do with things to hold and to learn. It is about teaching the children to understand what they're supposed to be doing. Now, therefore, again, so if you're good in maths, then you'll be good in physics and chemistry, which is formulas. And if you're good in the language of your communication, Turkish, English, German, whatever it is, and you learn the rules of how to spell a word, you learn the rules of grammar, you know, sentence construction, and you learn rules of syntax, the right words to play with, and you learn how to tell a story, to explain your mind very clearly. You get good game. Okay, so this is the rules. So you know, the problem really is that. Let me show you exactly how school works. We're looking at this computer, the screen again. We're going to find an illustration here. Just wait a moment. So okay, we can see this now. You can see the screen. This teacher. You can see the lady. Okay, so there's a lady, a teacher, and 2 students. Now the teacher is teaching the children how to draw letter A. It's just an example. It can be Pythagoras, anything. It's a learning experience. Now the important thing is, as the little girl, she loves the teacher, so she feels very secure. So you know, the big thing is, teachers should never get angry with students. I know of instances where teachers ridicule students in a class, and this is so bad. And we'll explain why in a moment when we talk about brain chemistry. But the point here
Yes.
is that the child feels happy. She feels that she
Yeah,
kind of wants
exactly.
to be like the teacher, so she wants to have her A as near to the teachers as she can do. Okay, so
Yes.
she's concentrating. She's really concentrating, and she's really happy to do the A. Great. Now the boy's happy, but you see the problem is for the boy is he wants to go and play football. So he's waiting for the bell to go, and his mind is thinking on the A. Then he's thinking of the football. He's thinking of the A, and he says, "Now who's got the ball? The A. Oh, and who will be in my team?" So his mind is drifting. So he has poor concentration. Now, what happens is that after 45 minutes, the bell goes, and the teacher says, "Great, everybody has done the A their way. Next lesson we'll go to the B," whatever it is. But the problem is that at this lesson, this effort was caused by poor concentration. But the next lesson, the next week, the next year is said to be his ability. That's the problem.
I see.
And the teacher
I
will
see.
therefore accept that this performance will always be higher than this. She will always get higher marks, and he will always be accepted for what he's done. Now, let me show you exactly the reality behind that. You can see
I
here
see.
a girl who'd been in school for 8 years. Now, what she's written is there's nothing wrong. The text is factual, okay? But you can see the presentation is very poor. So she gets half marks, you know, 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10. And the big thing to realize here is that students are conditioned to believe that the teacher knows what they're doing. So the students
Yes.
accept the grade the teacher gives them. The students don't think to the teacher, "I should have a higher mark." They accept the mark that they've
Yes.
got. And that kind of puts them on a psychological level. So I'm only worth a grade 6, therefore I will behave as I'm worth a grade 6. Now, so you can see this. And I wanted to show the girl how to write. So I said, "Look, I want to teach you calligraphy." So I did an A like this, you see. And she said, "Wow, that's beautiful." Now, I told you that for me, when I went to college, it was because I wanted to go to sea. So my motivation for putting my effort into the learning was because I wanted to work on a ship. This girl's
Wow.
effort was because she wanted to write beautifully. So I taught her, you know, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 5 minutes. Now, for 8 years,
Exactly.
8 teachers had said, "Great, this is your worth. Okay, well done. You're great. No problems. Okay. 2 weeks later,
Yes.
2 weeks later, she did that. 8 years, 8 teachers, and 2 weeks later. Now, because of a presentation, she gets top marks. Everything has changed. She puts the effort in, she believes in herself, and she gets, you know what the biggest problem in education is, that people don't believe in their own ability. Let me explain to you why. Now, I explained to you that if you learn the rule of doing something, you know how to think and you know what to do. But if you miss the rule because you were distracted or you were bored or the teacher was boring, whatever it was, and then you see other people doing it, and you think, oh, they can do it and I can't, therefore I'm no good, therefore I hate the subject and I give up. It's very important to
Yes.
understand that. And it only happens because you miss the rule. If you catch the rule and practice it, you've got no problems. Now look, okay, she said, I'm no good, I can't do it, and everybody can and I can't. And I said to her, look, I made some pictures of a cake, and I said, look, you can see this cake. Every single cake is different, and everyone is beautiful,
Yes.
but they're all different. But you know, if you take this top away, they're kind of all the same. But you know,
Exactly.
I really think that your cake can be very, very beautiful. Now, I didn't know what would happen to that, but what I noticed was the next lesson, she stopped looking at what the others were doing, stopped comparing herself, and started to try to understand what she was doing. Now, that same girl came third in mathematics at the end of the year because she'd learned to believe in herself. This is a big factor. Now, you
Yes.
know, we have this graph in psychology. We call it the standard distribution curve or the bell curve, and it kind of looks like
Uh-huh.
this shape. Okay, this
Mm-hmm.
is very famous in psychology. Now, the idea,
Yes.
this is the population, and this is the range of ability. Okay, but let's forget about intelligence and let's just look at schoolability. So you have here, this is the most, if there's a class of 100, this is 80% of kids, 20%, sorry, 10% and 10%, whatever it is. So you've got a very few here who are very good in marks. 1 or 2 in the class are the smart kids. But what really
Yes.
happens is that because they've kept up with each rule, they know how to play the game, and that their ego propels them to keep in front. They like to be a leader, and they have this recognition. So they put that extra effort in to score the better marks. So you see, these smart kids, well, they're not smarter, they're just the least confused. Because when a teacher says, what's the answer? Oh, I know the answer because I recognize it. So they're least confused. But most kids, well, they're generally confused because in the lesson, you know, they're listening and the mind's drifting, they're listening, they're bored, they're fed up. They understand different parts of it. So they're generally confused. And the kids who really, the troublemakers, the ones who make the trouble or the ones who really don't understand, the stupid kids, well, they're not stupid. They just got lost. For one reason or another, they got lost in the system. Maybe they didn't have a good language skill, which is a big problem in some countries. Or maybe because they had an emotional problem. So they got lost and they
Yes.
couldn't keep up with the rules. And that's all it is.
I
So, you
see.
know, this is a big factor. What I want to explain to you
Exactly.
now, is brain chemistry.
Yes.
This is really important. As you know,
Exactly.
we got a lot of, brain cells. Now, this is one neuron, and this is another neuron. Now, these neurons,
Yes.
they don't touch as a gap. We call this a synaptic gap. And what happens
Yes.
is that a signal of information will come along the brain cell, and it'll be carried by another chemical to another brain cell, and it'll move through the brain, alternating between chemical, electrical, chemical. I've gone very dark here. Is that better?
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
it's a little bit dark, but we see you. It's okay.
Okay, okay, okay. And well, wait a minute. Let me see this. Yeah, it's gone very dark now, isn't it? Okay. So what happens? Okay, well, now we have 50 of these chemicals. One is called cortisol. This is really important for educationists to know about. I haven't met anybody who do. Cortisol is there to save your life, but in the
Yeah.
classroom, it can destroy your opportunities in life. So it works like this. You're out going for a walk, and it's a nice sunny day, blue sky, green trees, you're very happy. And you look down and you see a flower, a red flower, and you say, wow, this is so beautiful. And you're analyzing the shape of the flower and the texture and the fragrance. And you're associating that with other flowers that you've met or you've seen. So you're having a learning experience, no problem. Then you see a noise and there's a wild dog or a snake or something like that. And then your mind says danger. Now, when your mind says danger, according to the sense of danger, it causes changes in your body. The first thing it does, it triggers off this cortisol. So the cortisol in your mind, it overproduces. Then it floods the frontal cortex. And this blocks the synaptic gap. So it means that the signals are not transferring. So in other words, you have a brain freeze. You're just looking at the flower, and you're looking at the flower, and nothing's happening. Because the other part of your brain is saying, quick, run away from the snake and save your life. Okay. Now that's how it happens.
Yes.
So cortisol comes up and blocks your ability to think when there's a danger. Now in the classroom, if a child is abused at home, if they're bullied in the school, if they're intimidated, if the teacher thinks that authority is the best way of teaching, which is crazy, or hitting kids or shouting at them or ridiculing them, then the cortisol level will go up and the kid won't be able to think. And I was in one country and a teacher came in and it was terrible. He wasn't teaching anything and he was shouting and the kids weren't interested and they couldn't understand. And one child was just bored, he looked out of the window and the teacher said, boy, stand up. What did I just say? Now when that boy stood up, he was embarrassed because everybody was looking at him.
Yes.
The teacher said to him, what is the answer? And the child couldn't think because the cortisol had risen and had blocked his ability to think. So his brain froze and he just couldn't think. And then I said to the boy, look, you just sit down and relax. But for the rest of that lesson, that boy was watching that teacher as if he understood everything. He was trying to give the impression that he was really understanding. But I knew for the rest of that lesson, and probably the rest of that day, his brain wouldn't be able to function at all.
I see.
I want to show you something that's really important now. So you can see here a classroom. Now remember, education is political. It is a political mechanism. Yes. We pretend that it isn't. We live in an egalitarian society where every child has a free right to education, but it's not true. There are a lot of strategies in society and hidden within the school process to make sure children do not have equal processes. Because the purpose of school is not to give kids equal ability. It is to decide by various social factors what kind of a job. So you got a lot of kids here. One will be the doctor, one will be the accountant, one will be the engineer, one will be the plumber, one will be the caretaker.
Exactly.
This is all school is about, okay? Now, we've said that, okay, too many kids in the class, so we'll reduce the class, so we have a few. But the mechanism is still the same. These children at the back, they can't see, they can't hear as well as this child in the front. And she has a kind of a chemical relationship. So she feels closer. She feels a kind of, like I showed you with the little girl and the boy wanted to play football. That girl had this chemical bonding, which gave her the confidence she could do it. I told you that when I was 17, I failed arithmetic. And then when I was 20, I went back. For me, what was the big change in my life was that the maths teacher when I was 20, he said to me, maths is just a game. It's not serious. And I would be trying to do something and he'd say, Roy, what are you doing? And I say, oh my God, what's happening? And I would say, well, I don't understand. And he said, look, it's so simple. It's just a game. You're given some information. Some of it is hidden. And you have to find the hidden information to find the steps to find the answer. And when he said that, the stress went away from me. Suddenly, it wasn't something I was going to be executed on if I didn't succeed. This is kind of a fear. But then he said to me, you can do this. And he didn't say that many times to me, but you can do it. It really, wow, this God said I can. Therefore, wow, he must be right. So relax, calm down, try to understand what's happening. And with that mindset, well, then I became very, very good at math.
Yes.
But look, I want to show you really what happens here. So look, you've got a classroom here. let me lighten it up for you. Okay, you got a classroom here, and this is me, and the desks are arranged in rows. Now, as I told you, it's a political arrangement. This is not
Exactly.
designed for all children to learn. It is for the teacher to broadcast information for the children to understand if they have the right mentality. Now, I can
Yes.
help these boys and I can help these girls, but I can't reach these boys and I can't reach these girls. So I'm limited in how I can help them. So now what happens is at the end of the lesson, I take all the textbooks, go to the staff room and mark them. And the next lesson, I'll give the textbooks back. That's what we do, right?
Yeah.
Now, let me show you what happened. I went into one class, one staff room, and there was a pile of 40 books. And I picked up one book. And each child had written about 20, 30 lines. This is just 5 lines. Okay, so you've got to multiply that by 5 or 6 times. And the teacher said, good, 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 good. Yep, this is it. Next book, good, 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 blah, blah, blah. But look at these 5 lines. In these 5 lines, he had missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mistakes he could have helped. He could have changed it, but he didn't. He said, it's okay. So what happens is the teacher gives the textbooks back, the next lesson. The children look at it, they try to find out who's got the most red marks, or who's got the highest mark, and who's got the least mark. That's it. They're not interested. And even if the teacher said, okay, I want to explain to you what you didn't understand, the child's mind is gone. It's finished. That was last week, you know? What's happening now? So what I'm explaining to you is
Exactly.
we are not developing the children. There's no
Yes.
development here for the child, 0. But so if you go from this design, and again, you got rows and rows of desks here, and you change it to that design, well, the whole ball game changes. Because now the teacher can move around and help each child while they're making
Yes.
that mistake. So at the moment the children
Exactly.
is making that mistake, the teacher can help them when the mind is thinking about it. And
Yes.
so, and then, so this is helping the child at the moment that, so he's done something wrong, and the teacher's explaining to him while his mind is thinking about that. So, so one lesson, so over the year, there's a real development in the language skills. And as I've
You're
explained to you,
right.
school has got to think about intelligence, it's just about language skills.
I
And
see.
so, so we hear that Finland is the best educational system in the world.
Yes.
But, I lived in Denmark for 10 years, and we did research into the way Finnish teachers and Finnish school system works. And it isn't really that different from the other Scandinavian countries, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. It's kind of the same because they're designing the same socialist citizen in the future. So the mechanism is kind of very similar.
Yes.
And so there's no difference really in the school systems. What is different is the social system. Because in Finland, when a mother has a baby, she gets a box from the Finnish government containing books how to read stories and stories to read. And that's the difference. In Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, that doesn't happen. So the kid is given a smartphone to play with or put in front of the television. There's no real
Yeah.
cognitive development. But in Finland, the mother by tradition reads stories. She has a child on the lap when the child is a couple of months old, reading stories, teaching vocabulary, new words, how to relate those words to events, different scenarios, and then asking questions about what the child had understood, developing language skills. So the Finnish child has a very high language skill before they go to school. Now, of course, there are other things, but that really is the key. And so what we need to
Yes.
do is we need social programs, because a lot of young parents today, they don't know how to raise children, not as well as their grandmother did. And a lot of parents today think, well, I'll give a smartphone to my child so they'll get clever. It's the opposite effect, because all the child is doing is they're pressing a button, getting a light response, pressing another button, getting another light response, which is absorbing them, attracting them, and they get hooked, they get addicted to it. But there's no cognitive
Exactly.
development. And worst of all is that it's lowering their ability for language skills. You go into any home and you'll see the boy playing this, the sister playing this, the father playing this, the mother playing this. There's no social interaction. And the problem then is that we are developing so that we don't care about others' feelings. If somebody has a problem, I say, well, that's your problem. I'm playing my game. It's more fun. But then when I have a problem, I don't have the experience to explain my mind. So then I get frustrated, and that causes all kinds of other problems. So it's very important that we teach our children how to limit their time on smartphones. And you know, when I was in Turkey, that's a big problem, smartphone
Of
addiction.
course.
I
Yeah.
remember I was in
It's a big problem too.
I was in Istanbul, and I had a meeting, and one man, he came up to me and he was crying. He really, tears coming down. He said, Roy, I can't stop my son playing. He plays 7 hours every day. I can't stop him. And you
Yeah.
know, there are ways we can do that, and we need to understand it. But anyway, what I'm saying here is that we've got to teach the children how to explain their mind. When a child gives an answer, or when they write a response or something, they're thinking about their mind. They're not thinking about how to explain their mind to another mind. So we have to teach them that the mind is blank, it's empty. This teacher's mind has got no information at all. It is zero. So the child has to learn, well, number one, this is what I'm going to tell you with the introduction, okay? Very clearly, this is what I'm going to tell you. So the brain is saying, okay, fine, something's coming in, what's coming in? And number two, here's the information in clear steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I understand what's happening. And then finally, the conclusion. This is the meaning of why I told you this. And there's a lot of examples we can go into that. We don't have time for that right now.
Yeah, great.
But okay, brother. Oh, another thing I just want to share with you, and this is really important. I told you I failed school when I was 17. When I went to Japan, and I worked in one of the best medical universities for 9 years. And the first year I had 60 students. The second year I had about 90. The third year, I had 130 students, undergraduates, and they were so crammed into this classroom that we couldn't breathe. Everybody was squashed up. I thought, wow, my God, how am I going to teach these people, you know? There's just too many. I thought, well, I can't do it, so I've got to get them to teach each other. So I got them all out in the corridor, and I put them in rows. So this is row A, and this is row B. Now, this principle I now use, and I advocate, I suggest to all teachers to use this, even professors, teaching professors, whatever. Any lesson at all, use this. So what happens is that, you know, what happens normally is you begin a lesson, and the kids walk in with the mind blank. They're not interested in what they did last lesson. They sit down and they wait for the teacher to switch them on, okay? But the big problem here is that the minds then are struggling to understand. We need to get the minds working with what they did in the last lesson before we start teaching them this lesson. So you begin the lesson by getting the students in 2 rows, A and B. Now they have a partner, and she said, okay, what did we do last lesson? He said, I don't remember. Well, it was about Pythagoras, or what is C, blah, 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 or whatever. And they're asking questions. Now, I found if you leave this too long, they dry up. So then I make a signal, like I clap my hands, and then this boy, row B, he moves right to the end, and everybody moves up, so they change the partners. And then they'll have a different partner, and they'll be talking for a bit, and then I'll give another signal, and again, the partner will change up, so they keep shuffling up, and they change partners. So you do that in the beginning of the lesson. And during the lesson, if you feel that they are, you know, they're losing interest, if their eyes are dropping, if they're getting tired, get them standing up and then say, okay, now talk about what we've done so far in the lesson. Because as I told you, it's all about rules. And there were, and you know, 90% of some kids, some of the class, will have not understood the rule. They'll just be looking and their mind have been drifted. But this gives them an opportunity. It's like, I didn't understand what the teacher said. Oh, he meant this. Oh, really? Oh, now I understand. This is so important. And then do it again at the end of the lesson. Or at the end of the lesson, sometimes they make quizzes. You know, I divide them into groups, A, B, and C. And then I use information that I've done in the lesson to help them, to give them questions about it. So then they are thinking. And you know, you learn most by doing tests and questions like that.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. So my friend, how long do we have now?
And I think we have 10 more minutes we have.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can go on and on about that, but do you want to ask me some
Yeah.
questions?
Sorry?
I can go
What
on
did you
about
say?
that for a couple of days, but I can talk about this
No,
for a couple
you
of days
know,
because it's
I
really
really
quite.
didn't understand how time passed. It was amazing. You know, I was just listening what you're telling us. It was
Oh,
great. It was really great. And so you can
so,
continue, no problem. You can continue. It's a great pleasure
well,
to listen to you.
the big problem really is that we are preparing children for a job. That's what school is about. You know, who will be the lawyer, who will be the accountant, who will be the computer engineer, who will be the cleaner, who will be the policeman. This is what it's all
Yeah.
about. The problem is that the education we've got, as I explained to you, is designed to produce a 19th century citizen. We don't
Yes.
teach kids how to think unless they go to university because we don't want the general citizen to think too much. They are to be stupid, kind of, okay?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have stupid entertainment, you know. They'll watch a game show, they'll watch a quiz show, not because they know the answers, because they're seeing other people doing something that's amusing for them. But there's no cognitive development within here. And so basically, the reality is that artificial intelligence is taking over far faster than we realize. And so what I'm explaining to people is we have to change the way school works. We need to teach our children how to think about how and why. To use these two words, we talk a lot about critical thinking in school, but it doesn't make any difference to the way the mind or the brain of the child works. This is another thing. If the teacher will see a child doing something, they say, oh, their brain is working. No, it's not. It's their mind and their heart that's directing the brain in its ability to process information. I have this saying,
Yes.
to open the mind of a child, you must first open their heart. What I mean by this, if you give security, if you give kind of empathy, compassion, kind of a love, kind of goodness, then that makes the student feel relaxed and secure in their mind, so they're not distracted. And then if you can give them a purpose to make it interesting, and they feel that they can learn this, then that will cause their brain to be very clear with information. I made a lot of videos about this, and you can go to YouTube, Roy Andersen Education. There's about 100 videos there. What I want to
Yeah.
explain to you is that the brain doesn't just think. It goes through three processes. We interrogate information, we listen, and we see. So if
Mm-hmm.
the teacher's talking, and we are really fascinated, oh, this is a really interesting subject, we're really listening to this information very clearly. Or if I'm really interested in reading this book, about whatever it is, I'm very careful about identifying the letters and the words, and therefore this information is going very precise to my memory. Now, because I'm
Yes.
interested in the subject, the previous experiences also went very precise. So this information locks. Immediately I understand what's happening and I recognize the potential opportunities for it. Okay, I
Uh-huh.
understand. But if I'm bored, if I'm not really interested, if I've just got to listen, or if I've just got to read this textbook, then I'm
Uh-huh.
taking the information, but it's vague, it's not precise. So this vague information is trying to relate to other vague information, and it's not making sense, it's not clicking. So it's very important that that the teacher can inspire the children to have fun, because most kids in the class will be worried about something,
Yes.
problems at home, or he doesn't like me, or the girls don't like me, whatever it is. They feel a sense of insecurity. That's danger. When it's danger, the cortisol comes up. But if they're happy and they're laughing, the cortisol comes down. Then they can concentrate. So I train teachers to teach in a happy way. I taught in the most elite school in Istanbul. So what I'm saying here is that it's imperative that we make a lesson in such a way that the children interact, not with the teachers
Yes.
talking, but a question, question, question. And that requires a different mindset from the teacher. Some teachers feel kind of insecure because kids today can be very smart, and they're frightened of getting a question which they can't answer. So, you know, I don't have this idea of the teacher and the student. I say to the kids, look, you know, any age, look, we are just human beings, you know, Pythagoras, whatever it is. How do you think we could learn that? And so the kids come up with their ideas about how they think they would like to learn it, and we try it. And therefore it's interesting because they're involved with it. It's something that they are doing. You know, it's not just the teacher just giving it to them to do. But what I'm saying basically here is that the world of our children will dramatically change. It's predicted the next 30 years, 50% of the workforce will be unemployed because of artificial intelligence. What does that really mean? Now, if I say to you, you know, what's the purpose of a job? You say to me, well, I can earn money and I can save up and I can buy a car or a motorbike or a girl some dresses, whatever it happens to be, you know. No, the purpose of a job is that you go to a place at a designated time, you have respect for doing that, you have respect for yourself, you have an identity, you believe in yourself, and therefore you believe in your society. You might moan and groan about it, but you believe it's functioning and you're a part of that functioning social movement. You lose your job, and after 6 months, you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe in your society. Now, every country carries 5–8% unemployed, but they're so dissipated, we don't feel the effects. But if you've got 30, 40, 50, 60% of unemployed people who don't believe in themselves and don't believe in their society, how then do you maintain stability in that society so that everybody can be safe? There's no more democracy. It means that surveillance and security has to go up to maintain order. And the only way we can prevent that is for schools to change the model citizen, to teach the children to be more responsible in how they think. We've got to teach kids how to think, teach them how to use how and why, and give them the confidence to be able to do that. You know, you can see this picture here. Now, the word what is this? What should I do? It lives in this part of the brain, the cerebral cortex. But the how and the why, it's an emotional, and this lives here in the limbic system.
Exactly.
Now, what we need to understand is that this part of the brain, it grows and develops through interaction. So the more you use certain languages, the more this brain grows. So if you use the word what, then what should I do? Please tell me, I don't know, I am dependent. But if you teach them, well, how does this work? And why is that happening? How could it happen? Then this part grows, and therefore this becomes more dominant. They become more inquisitive. They become more questioning. And what it all comes down to is that how well we teach them to use language is how well we prepare them to defend their democracy.
Oh, wow, exactly. It's a great sentence, yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of other things too. The children today, they live in a world that we don't understand. Their world is very toxic. They can get hold of information on Google and whatever that they shouldn't be able to do at their age. So they don't understand what they're seeing and what they're doing. They're influenced by, you know, pornography. They're influenced by people having their heads chopped off and things like that. It's distorting their reality. And they don't have the innocence that we did when we were children. Now, the problem is, as I've explained to you, this cerebral cortex, it grows through environmental information. So the information that children have today is causing their brain to be different than our brain. But we don't understand that. We don't understand that they can't relate as well as we can because they're distracted by too many factors. The children today have a far higher capacity to drift away. And so we need to be able to help kids to do that better. And another thing too, you know, we talk about artificial intelligence, but also global warming is a reality.
Exactly.
And we can really thank
Mr. Andersen. I'm sorry that interrupting you, but we have only 1 minute. And after that, and after that, the live broadcasting automatically shuts
So,
down.
okay.
So, I by the way, that was really great. I'm sure that everybody can listen you hours and hours. It was really inspiring and really great. The things that you tell us, and I'm really impressed, and I really happy to have a chance to listen to you here. And so, but if you accept, of course, I would like to have another live broadcasting with you after a couple weeks, if you accept, of course. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, please do that. You can contact Roy Andersen on Facebook or LinkedIn. My email is
Okay.
royandersen95@gmail.com. YouTube Roy
Okay.
Andersen Education. There's about 90 free videos there. And
Yeah.
www.andersenroy.com. It's all information about me and the books I've written
I
and the
will.
teacher training
I
course that
will.
I.
Mr. Anderson, I will really share all of them. I will share them in my account. Thank you very much for your ideas, for experiences, for everything that you share with us. And it was really impressive. And thanks a lot for your time and your ideas. Thank you, Mr.
You're very
Anderson.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And
Salaam
you're welcome. And we will see each other after a couple weeks again. Bye, Mr.
Okay,
Anderson.
very well. If you'd like to join me for further talks about education, society, school, or how children learn, or anything about child development, please click on the subscribe button below and you're very welcome to join me. If you would like to host a program about the development of children, how to improve the school system, or discuss better methods of teaching, please feel free to contact me at royandersen95@gmail.com. I'd love to help you and to help others to understand how we can really help children to give them a better future. Thank you.